Hey YouTube and DayZ community, this is Damyo of US023 server. I am the server manager and developer for this server, and I am going to show you some of the features and a little tutorial of some of our features that you may come encounter with when you play on our server. So right here we have a bunch of spawned URLs and choppers, just to have choppers. You might want to fly around and check out the base we're about to build. And as you can see there, I already got started with a 10 times tall HESCO barrier. And to get started with the build feature, what we do is we gather one buildable, or a loot buildable, but you do definitely need a buildable to build anything. So we'll just start with the sandbag. It's the most rare item to find. And then you'll get a build recipes menu, which you see right here. It's nothing fancy right now, we're still working on the layout, but right now it shows you all the class names, and this is subject to change. We might use display names later on. But at the top you'll see that we have all the lists of what you need, or what each thing stands for. So at the top it says sandbags for S, tank traps for T, wire W, wood would be L for lumber, so the two W's don't get mixed, and scrap is obviously M for metal. And yeah, these are pretty much all the recipes. It's kind of like Minecraft. You have to gather all these in your inventory, and you have to have the exact amount in order to build what you're trying to build. Now it gives you a preview of what you're going to build before you build it, so you don't have to worry about not knowing what these class names mean, essentially. Some of them are self-explanatory, some of them not really so much. Well, let's just get started. How about that? We already got started on this little base. Right now we have one sandbag. That's not going to build much. As you can see, I'll just build this little dinky sandbag right here. Just move to cancel that. Let's go ahead and build. Let's just keep building more of this big wall right here. We'll build a couple of them, and then we'll start working on the interior. Or we'll build certain different sections of the wall to show all the different objects that we can build. Now, in order to see a little better when you're building, since this utilizes the same way you would build, with the original DayZ, you could press the numpad minus key a couple times. If you got to bind to something else, then you already know what to do. And it gives you a little bit bigger field of view. And you could also use your compass to kind of, straighten out the HESCO barrier in the way you want it, so you can keep it consistent. And what I use is I double tap Alt, and then I will look to my left. You could also press spacebar to cycle your gear, so you get a clear view of where this is lining up. It's not the most practical way to build, or I should say easiest way. It's pretty practical, but it is hard, and it sometimes requires some teamwork, which I definitely want to promote. I think this is going to build a little bit off, so let's go ahead and cancel our build. Depending on the object, you will have it'll take longer to build and whatnot. Yeah, let's go here, try this again. It's a little bit used, you gotta get used to it a little bit. Combining objects is fine. Also, objects contour to whatever landscape you're on. So if it's a little rough, you got to be careful building these longer objects, because they might stick up off the ground wrong if it's on a slope, a short slope. However, when you build on a hill, say a steep mountain, you could essentially build an entire base on a side of a mountain, but that's not very smart strategic wise, because then your whole base is exposed. But when building on top of a mountain, some of the mountains here in Linger are pretty rough terrain, so it gives you a little bit of flexibility. You can use smaller HESCO barriers or whatever to build in a more, I guess, rough terrain atmosphere. You can also build in forests, you build in buildings. We do regulate, trollish kind of building, where if you built one of these inside of an industrial building or maybe a hospital, we'd probably give you a warning, remove the object, and then if it keeps happening, would eventually hand out bans. But we allow fencing and smaller objects to be built something a little bit more rational. If you want to take over a hospital, you could essentially do that. However, we are going to have gates, you know, eventually, like object gates like these would, you know, if for example these would actually like start moving if I pressed a button on a panel, and these would slide to the left and open up as a gate. Not necessarily HESCO barriers, this is an example of object gates in general. We want people to be able to access, maybe hack the panel, or you know, you could give access to your friends for the panel or whatever. I know that's going to be a pretty tough thing to code in, but I'm sure it's doable, and you know, since everybody has a unique character ID, it's probably not that hard once I start looking into it. But my priority after this, after tweaking the base building a little bit, is to get some booby traps up, and also just to keep working on server performance and bug fixes and dupes. Now that we got this built up though, let's go ahead and build a single HESCO 10 times barrier. And you'll see it's a little bit of a shorter wall, but it also is usually good. It's a little cheaper to build, so let's see. Actually, I don't even know what it is, so let's go look at the build recipe menu. We are building this one right here, the Warfare B barrier 10 times. It's only 2 tank traps, so it's about almost half of everything from the 10 times tall. But you know, it's one sandbag as well, because sandbags are rare. So let's go ahead and build that. We'll go ahead and build like a T, and this will be like kind of like a sectioned off base once it's you know, once you're inside of it. Let's see here. Let's try to get a little bit aligned. Let's go. It looks like our bases are curving a little bit, so let's maybe go to 0 barrier, or bearing, I should say. This is the barrier. This is gonna be a little crooked. This base isn't gotta be perfect. So this is a single 10 times barrier. Once you build a base, you usually want to section off the base. It'll help give you cover from grenades and you know, overhead. And if maybe your base is overlooked by a sniper position, it's, you know, you want relative cover with inside the base, not just along the walls, because then you always get pinned down on the walls, and that's usually not the best cover. I'm just going to keep working on this, and I'll talk about the server a little bit. When you come to our server, a lot of things, the first you know, people recognize as the 600 vehicles, and this has always been a controversial thing, and from starting from Chernarus to Linger to Panthera even. But I think the trend is getting a little bigger, that people do want more vehicles essentially, because right now it's pretty scarce out there, and it's hard to find a vehicle. And on our server, we don't spawn vehicles with fuel. We could do that in the future. However, you know, most of our vehicles are randomly generated, they're all randomly generated, and that means that their tires are generated randomly, so most vehicles are going to be damaged in some way, somehow, and if you find one with 4 wheels, you're really lucky. However, there's also the 600 vehicles also includes bikes, motorcycles, boats, where our choppers are pretty balanced. We don't want everyone flying around, you know, too much, but we do have more choppers in most servers. I can't speak for every server, of course, but you know, we wanted to give a little bit more opportunity to fly choppers. But like I said, they're most likely going to be damaged, and a lot of people get this idea that the choppers are bugged, but in fact that it's just a desync between the database and the server. So a chopper, you might be repairing it and it repairs to green, yet the database still, after server restart, the database says, hey, you didn't repair these parts. You need to make sure you repair all of them, even if it shows green. And so it's a little bit tasking. Usually you'll know after server restart. The settings will come back to normal, and usually the fuel will leak out. So that's a common question in our server. As for the vehicles themselves, though, you know, hopefully in the future we want to spawn, you know, random loot in them and stuff. I know Bliss is working on something like that. But essentially, I would say, the server population itself would put loot in vehicles, drive them around, maybe crash them, and you'll find a random vehicle that somebody was driving, and it'll give it a little bit more immersive. Like, it'll kind of tell a story, like, what was this guy doing? He was driving, he was, he had this loot, and he was going to this place, and you might find it on the road, and maybe you'll find his body next to it, who knows. But we like to think that the players kind of create the story in terms of what the vehicle has in it, and what that person was doing at the time, and I think it's more enjoyable that way, instead of just randomly generating a bunch of loot everywhere. Of course, I think both work and are doable, but the server kind of takes care of itself after a while in terms of giving you little surprises along the road, along your travels. I'm just totally winging this base right now. I'll show you some of the other little things you could do with the base. Right now I'm just building Hesco berries. Everyone's seen these before. All these objects are within Arma, by the way. Oops, I canceled my position. And why Rocket didn't implement this is beyond me. I'm sure he just got overwhelmed with all the interviews he's doing, and the announcement of the standalone and whatnot. So it's good to see the community come up and expand on the mod and just make it much better, and it's great to see that. And I definitely give props to a lot of the community for the bug fixes and server support and all that stuff. Currently our cleanup of the bases right now, they're set to pretty large amounts. We want things to stay pretty persistent very long, but we don't know the effects of how long that's going to be, like, or how long, how many objects is too much. Right now we have like over 350 objects, and we really don't know what's going to happen when it gets to maybe 1,000 or something. But so far so good. And server, since these objects don't necessarily have to update to the server, it's really nice, and it's a little easier on the server. Vehicles, however, do take up a little bit more resources because they have to constantly update most of the time, especially when someone's around the area. And we're gonna build a watchtower. Let's test this out real quick. Yep, there's our watchtower. So these watchtowers are not good for building as a wall themselves. Even though they have Hesco's berries surrounding them, it's very easy to get out of a vehicle inside of them, or maybe grab onto the ladder or something. And so I wouldn't build this along the wall like that to block off a wall. I build it within the wall as a lookout point. Watchtower is a watchtower, so like right here maybe. Oh, that's I think that's backwards, yeah. Yeah, no, that's good, that's good. Okay. Yeah, it looks good. Actually, that looked like it was inside the wall. We'll cancel that. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. And now buildable objects like watchtowers or bunkers or warfare B depot, that big headquarters like object. Now those are not removable. You cannot remove them. They remove right now after like 30 days, but that's subject to change. You might keep them persistent forever. A lot of the smaller objects have about 10-day life, and so on. Pretty much the minimum is 10 days and plus, depending on the objects. Medium-sized objects are going to be a little bit longer on the cleanup script, but like we said, we are just testing still, and we might keep these persistent forever. However, I think eventually there's going to be a point where they must be deleted. The server can't possibly go in infinite objects, so we'll have a cleanup script in place. I mean, some of these things are very easy to build, like a single wire fencing is one fence. Little thing right there. These are good for just stopping infantry. Someone could drive up to your base and knock these over, but they give away their position and whatnot. And if you're in the base, you definitely could engage. Let's go ahead and build. A lot of people don't build these ramparts. I made them a little bit more expensive because they essentially could be used to siege bases, and I don't like that. I don't like the idea of being able to build onto someone else's bases and start trolling their base and whatever. But essentially, you could build it to maybe climb over it. I forget exactly what this was. 3 wood. Land rampart is 1 wood, or 1 wire, 3 wood, 3 lumber. So yeah, this could essentially use to siege. You know, we're gonna allow it. I mean, you could remove the object. When objects are removed in this server, they're removed permanently. I believe Bliss or Ash4 developed or fixed that system where objects weren't removed. Sometimes I'm not sure how 100% it is, but you know, so far I've tested it, and when you remove an object, it actually removes. That's why the probability is pretty crappy, and for smaller objects, it's 50% failure rate, 50% chance to lose your box, your toolbox, and then also, you know, from there on, medium objects would be 70%, 70%, and then 90%, 90%. Now the probabilities are completely separate from each other, from the fail rate of removing the object and the fail rate of the toolbox itself, losing the toolbox. So, and there's no way you could dupe or try to take your toolbox out the last second. I thought about all that too. A lot of those, any of my personal scripts, I thought about a lot of the anti-dupe stuff, and we have a lot of anti-dupe stuff like that already in place, thanks to Ash4 and also some of my custom scripts. So this is a nice little rampart. Get up on it, boom boom, shoot people. It's also, you could even use this as a wall. However, I wouldn't recommend it because I feel like people could get out of the vehicle inside the rampart, so that wouldn't be an ideal wall. Let's go ahead and build something that's other than these sandbag emplacements, these Hescos and watchtower and whatnot. Let's go ahead and build some of the tank trap required stuffs. This would be like maybe the biggest one would be let's see, 5 and 1 scrap metal. I think this is let's see what this is. So yeah, this is a nice little you know, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but you could store vehicles in this thing, or you could it's a cargo crate. You can store vehicles in it. You can make tunnel systems with it. However, if you're going to make a tunnel system with it, I would recommend putting some sort of barrier around it to not allow vehicles to run up on side of it, so they could get out of the vehicle within inside the cargo. So if I was to make this tunnel system, you know, from base A to base B, maybe in the forest or something, you know, I would definitely have it reinforced with something that would maybe like hedgehog concretes. We're just going to start building random stuff and show everyone what we can build. So that's built. Boom, you got a little tunnel system, park a small car in here, hide it, whatever, from choppers. Real cool. Doesn't cost much. What is it, 5 tank traps and 1 scrap metal. It's not too hard to find. Let's go ahead and build the biggest thing. This thing is a beast. This is good for you know, superior cover against snipers. Maybe your base is on a hill or something. It's a little costly, but definitely worth the... Oh wait, never mind, that's not it. I believe it is 2 scrap metal. Yeah, my bad. So 2 scrap metal. This thing, say that hill over there, that big mountain, is a big, you know, sniper problem, and you need more cover for your base. You build this tall thing. Gives you superior cover from snipers. Also, you could build, you know, other structures that might be a little taller. You use buses or just layer your base pretty much. That will also, you know, the way you design your base is entirely up to you, but you could always layer it and put sections of a base, different quarters, maybe like an ammo section, medical section, storage section, food and supplies, basic supplies, all that stuff. So that thing's a beast. You cannot get in, you know, you might think, oh, well, they're just going to use a vehicle to get inside of it or whatever. Well, you can't do it on these things. Actually, yeah, for some reason, like, the world objects versus these objects just don't work, see? It just kicks you on the top of the vehicle. Yeah, you can maybe, like, walk along your vehicle, good luck, but, you know, it's a little glitchy, you might get flinged off. I really don't want to be up here right now, because then I'll die and this video will be over. Let's see. There we go. Alright. Some of the other, let's see, some of the other maybe people want to see is some of the, there's a hedgehog concrete one. This one's 4 tank traps and 1 scrap metal, I believe. I think it might just be, actually it's only 4 tank traps, so let's go ahead and build this. Yeah, so this is a hedgehog concrete. It's good for roadblocks. It's good for putting this around your base so vehicles can't drive up to the side and, you know, attempt to get out of their vehicle. Usually it's maybe for thinner walls or maybe those single HESCO barriers, but these walls are definitely helpful in many different situations. Let's go ahead and build a camo net after this one. You can show how well it blend in with the forest. Trying to think of any other features. We have, you know, you might have noticed that some of our buildables cost wood, and you're like, oh, well, I could just go into a forest, chop a bunch of wood in like 10 seconds. Well, we've actually modified the wood chopping ability. Instead of adding custom sounds in and making, you know, a huge custom file, you know, when you go into the forest and chop wood, there's repair. You're essentially repairing the wood now. But, you know, it's more of a longer process to chop wood. It's more of a task, and you're a little bit more vulnerable out when you're doing this. So, and you make noise while you're doing it too. So now we just chop some wood. Let's see, it slowly comes into our inventory. And that's one way to chop wood. Or that's the only way to chop wood now. So it's a little bit more, just add a little bit more functionality to it. Let's go ahead and build a nice little, beautiful camo netting. This one's the biggest one. It's the Camo Net East, and it definitely blends in with the forest for sure. So let's go ahead and build that. Let's go build it this way since we're going to come look into the forest from outside. Ooh, did I mess that up? I think it's 8. Let's see. Maybe I don't even know what this is. Is it wood? It's 1 metal. Okay, so, oh, it's only 6. My bad. Oh, I guess I totally... Yeah, here we go. 6, alright. Don't even know the recipes yet. It's very sad. Yeah, with booby traps, what we're essentially going to do for booby traps when they're released is, you know, hopefully, you know, this, I did test it already and it does bypass through Battle Eye for now. You know, people are updating all the time, so we'll have to make a secondary bypass if this is going to be possible. And I still haven't decided whether I want it to be server or client side, but probably going to lean towards a client side. And how it would work would be, you know, essentially you set up, you'd have to have a grenade as a recipe and maybe a sandbag and whatever. And, you know, you'd place the booby trap wherever. It would be like a proximity mine, so to speak. And anyone running by it would maybe set it off in a timer of like 3 seconds, who knows. And, you know, maybe if you could essentially disarm it, you could go prone and crawl up to it and slowly disarm it, but you'd have to go really slow. You know, so it's because it's a proximity mine of some sort. Also, I'm thinking about booby traps around maybe vehicles or planted, you know, that maybe fool people, so they have to kind of creep up on the vehicle cautiously, and so they don't, you know, risk getting blown up if you don't have a base, or etc. Now that's a nice camo netting. You can't really see that very well. It blends in pretty good. I mean, you could just be looking around, yada yada, and then, oh, okay, you might not even notice it. If that's deeper in the forest as well, you know, you might not notice it at first too. And if, you know, if anything, it gives you good relative cover. You couldn't tell if anyone's over there right now unless they started moving within the forest. I'm pretty much going to wrap it up with that. I'll build one more object. This is, you've seen this in probably the interview with me and Friendly Fire. This is a good ramp to build along walls, and so helpful. Oh, is it 1? Oh, is it 1 and 2 wood? Darn. I need to learn this. By the way, this music's some of this music's Wax Taylor. If you guys don't know him, he like kind of mixes in old sound bits with new hip hop. I don't know if this exactly is Wax Taylor right now, if it's Pandora, but I do like some of his music. Here we go. It's a nice ramp to to climb over base, peek over. You already seen this in another video most likely. But nonetheless, you could use this as offense or defense. However, it's mainly used for defense. You can walk along these walls. It's real cool. However, if you prone against these, you do fall off and crouched. Question, comment in the section below. Let me know your thoughts, and if you're on the server US023, make sure you if you see me on there, go ahead and if you have a great idea, maybe email me or message me on YouTube, something that you'd like to see implemented in the server, and if it's a great idea, I will definitely look into it. And I always like people helping out and pitching in with ideas and maybe balance features, bug reports, and if you're upset about another server that allows certain kinds of duping and or glitches that you see on other servers and you actually see on our server, let us know so we could fix those and make the game more balanced, more fair, and that's how DayZ should be played. It should be played in that type of atmosphere because it's a competitive game, and we don't want we want everyone to be on the same level essentially. And so just let us know, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. We also have mini admins on all the time. You will see admin Reason, admin Anthony, Kevin, MU7E Mute. He is one of our top players along with Reason, so if you guys see them on too, share your ideas with them. I'm usually on certain times of the day. I'm usually working on the server most of the time, so if you see me, hit me up. Alright, and this will conclude the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace. Alright, hey again guys. Just wanted to add an additional video or a clip of showing you somewhat completed base. It's our base here in the official server, and right now it's looking pretty packed in here, so we are actually expanding it outward to the west over here, and I'll show you that in a sec. As you can see, we're working on those sandbags going outward, and we got a dual bus configuration here. We also haven't started building within the base yet, but we do have way too many vehicles for this base. I was working on a fence barrier around the north side of the wall. This would make it harder for infantry to get up onto the wall and shoot over the wall. And we also got it in the back a little bit. Haven't quite finished it yet, but definitely working on it. These bases are always a work in progress. It takes a good, week, small effort of multiple players pitching in their time to gather buildables, and but it is doable and it's possible. And since these will last pretty persistently, the walls themselves are pretty long extended time, like 30 days plus. We definitely are working on it. Oh, I didn't even see that crack right there. We gotta fix that. But yeah, that's a completed base for you, and thanks for watching again.